What's up, and welcome back to the Football House presented by House Enterprise. It's our college football pick'em show, and we got the second week of bowl games. Cole Hughes and myself, Will Tondo, joining you right before the holidays. Light crew, but the mighty crew. We're here to give you some picks, and Cole, welcome back on as always. It's been a minute. The holidays have messed things up, but our picks are still in. But how's everything going?
Yeah, everything's good, man. I mean, it's been definitely kind of crazy just the last month or so, I'd say, just between, Thanksgiving, the end of the, work year winding down, and now we're getting into the holidays. So we haven't really been able to have a live broadcast as much as we probably wanted to, but good to be back on. Obviously next week is the big week of all the bowl games and the playoffs, but still a couple of good ones left to go between now and then. And, that's why we're here to make some picks for this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I think that's definitely been the toughest part. And it's just the nature of college football. Like once once championship weekend happens and, Thanksgiving's beyond us, it's like, all right, things are quiet. You have the Army-Navy game, but other than that, like the early bowl games, it's like, do people really care? There's some good betting lines, but everyone's waiting for the New Year's Six, obviously. But I do like a couple. There's actually some games this week that I will tune into.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching upon that Army-Navy game, I mean, what a game this year, huh? It was crazy. I was pulling for Navy. It was a tough loss for them. But yeah, what a great game to watch. First time that it's ever gone to overtime in all the years that they've played, which is crazy.
And what, like the first time the over hit in like 16?
Yeah, and it didn't look like the whole game that it was gonna, but yeah, no, it was a great game, and it's always fun. That's one of the best rivalries that I look forward to every year. But yeah, like you said, I mean, big games, coming up, still on the horizon, even after the first of the year. But in the next couple of days, there's definitely some good ones. The competition and bowl games as a whole are definitely starting to get better.
Absolutely. So, although it's just the two of us, we will share everyone's standings. We got Gracie leading at the top at almost 60%. I'm right there underneath. I'm chasing my 100-win season at least. We got Basil. We got Gilly. We got yourself. We're all in this still. We're all over 500. So if we can end the season 500, that's a win because college football is not too easy to bet on. And then Zimmer and Jim on the outside looking in for that 50%. But we will kick it over to you first, Mr. Hughes. Let's see your board. Let's see what you got in store.
Yeah, and real quick, just looking at our standings, right? There's been kind of a lot of movement. At the beginning of the year, I feel like, you haven't really moved a lot. You've been up at the top pretty much all year. But Gracie's hopped up to the front. I've kind of fallen back quite a bit. But like you said, I mean, if all of us end the year above 500, that's a win, I think, for the whole show. So hopefully we can do that, and we get a couple more victories before we close things out on the 2022 season.
100%.
Going back to my board for this week, we'll hop right into it. Actually, one of my picks is currently going on right now. Baylor's playing Air Force in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. I took Baylor minus 3.5 in this. Right now they're losing 9-0, so hopefully they can get going and cover that. They're 6-6 this year. They had a tough year. Air Force had a really good year, 9-3, especially for one of the service academies. So I don't know. I took Baylor just because I think, they play in the Big 12. They play better competition. So I don't necessarily think that 500 record is, really showing what they're all about. They finished the season on a 3-loss streak, and those 3 losses were to Kansas State, TCU, and Texas. So that's tough. I was thinking they would come into this bowl game and try to finish the year with a above 500 record. So hopefully they can come back and make that one a game. So I took them minus 3.5. Moving on, I got Wake Forest against Missouri. Wake Forest -2. They're playing in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl. Here, I like Wake Forest. They're 7-5 against a 6-6 Missouri team. I know Missouri's in the SEC. They actually had a pretty decent year, but I just like Wake Forest in this game. Sam Hartman, their quarterback, he's had a really great year. He threw for 35 passing touchdowns, over 3,400 yards, I think. He had a hell of a year. And, he didn't really get any consideration in the Heisman Trophy just because those other guys that got it, Max Duggan and Caleb Williams and, the rest of those guys, they had a hell of a year too. But, he's played great. So I think he'll continue that in the bowl game. It might be his last game. I think he's going to probably declare for the NFL draft after this year. So, hopefully he can go out on top. Wake Forest this will be their 7th year in a row that they've made a bowl game. So that program is definitely on the right track. And under their current head coach, Dave Clawson, they're 2-0 against SEC opponents. So, that sets them up well for their matchup against Missouri. So I like them -2 in the Gasparilla Bowl. Moving forward, we got Coastal Carolina versus East Carolina. Little battle of the Carolinas in the Birmingham Bowl. I'm going to take Coastal +7.5. I think that's a big spread that favors ECU a little bit too much. Grayson McCall will be playing for Coastal Carolina, even though he has announced he's going to enter the transfer portal after the year. All signs are pointing that he's probably going to go to the Florida Gators, which would be really cool for him. He deserves it. So I think they're going to want to get him a win in his last game, have him go out on top. It's really going to come down to Coastal's defense in that game. ECU this year, they're 7-5. Every single one of their wins has come because they've scored more than 27 points in each of their wins, right? So when they're scoring points, they're winning. Coastal's defense hasn't had the best year. They've let up a lot of points in a lot of games, but I think it's going to be a shootout. It's probably going to be a high-scoring game, but I like Coastal, even if they don't win, to keep it within a touchdown. So I'm going to take them +7.5 in that game. And then my fourth and final pick for this week is going to be Wisconsin -3.5 against Oklahoma State in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. So, Wisconsin, another team this year that kind of had a subpar year. I think going into the year, they were expecting to do a lot better than being a 500 team. They've obviously fired their head coach, Paul Chris, and they've brought in Luke Fickell for next year. So I think they're eager to get that era started. But, they have to finish out this year, and hopefully they can get above 500 as well. Their last 8 bowl games that they've been in, they're 7-1 in those games. So they've been doing pretty well in the postseason. Recently in recent years. OK State on the other side, 7-5 this year, really disappointing year for them. I thought they were going to win the Big 12 heading into the year, and they started out really hot. They were 5-0 to start the season, and then they kind of just fell apart. And they're not going to have 2 of their best players in this game because of the transfer portal as well. Quarterback Spencer Sanders and leading rusher Dominic Richardson, they've already announced that they're entering the portal, and they're actually not going to play this game like Grayson McCall is. These guys aren't. They decide they're going to sit it out and focus on where they're going next year. So I think that hurts the Cowboys in this game. I think that gives the advantage to Wisconsin, and I think they should be able to cover 3.5. So those are my picks for this week, and hopefully they go well.
Right on. And I got some matching ones alongside with you as well. So I do have Baylor -3.5 right now. As we're speaking, there's 1:40 left in the second. Air Force is up 9-0, and Baylor is on Air Force's 47. So again, Baylor needs to pick it up. I do have the under at 48.5. So that is looking sweet. I like that. I didn't take Wisconsin spread, but I took the money line, and I do think they'll win this game. My 2 picks that, really could go either way. I like Houston -7. I think just the way that I'm trying to pull up my notes here. What is it? Obviously you got, a 7-5 Houston team versus 6-6 Raging Cajuns. I just, the 7 looks good. Clayton Tune's a really good quarterback. He's tied with Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud, leading with touchdown passes at 37. He also ranks 3rd in the country in total offense. Raging Cajuns have a good defense. It's ranked 11th in the country in interceptions, but I do think Houston wins by the touchdown. And then the pick that I'm not as confident with is UNC plus 14.5 against Oregon. So, Oregon is 4-0 against the spread when favored by 14 points this season, while North Carolina is 3-1 against the spread as the underdog, the only loss coming in the conference title game. Both teams their wheels fell off towards the end of the year. Both quarterbacks are returning, Bo Nix and Drake May next year. So it's like they're obviously looking for greener pastures come the new year, new season. I think 14.5 points in a bowl game on two very competitive teams is a lot. So I'm going to take UNC to cover the spread.
Yeah, crazy that Bo Nix still has eligibility to play college football. I feel like that guy has been playing between Auburn and Oregon for like 10 years. But, yeah, I mean, he had a great year for them this year. They're bringing him back. Hopefully they can have a better year next year. I agree with you. 14.5 is a lot, especially in a bowl game. I mean, UNC isn't just some team that's going to get rolled over, right? They have one of the best coaches in history, on their sideline. And I just think when it comes to a bowl game, anything can happen. They're usually close. You don't see many blowouts in bowl games. So I definitely like the UNC plus 14.5 there. And then as for Houston, I agree with you. I mean, I think they're gonna beat the Raging Cajuns. It might be a close game. Again, it's going to come down to their defense and how they perform in that one. But I like both those picks for you.
You're talking about Bo Nix, being here forever. The other Oregon player who's on his 9th year of eligibility, Cam McCormick, the tight end,
crazy
freshman at 2016, opted return for his 9th year of eligibility. That's insane.
I mean, I know we had COVID, right? And that threw a wrench in a lot of things and gave guys a lot more eligibility, but still it's like, you just look at it. It's like, how is this even possible? It's wild.
Yeah, how old is Cam McCormick? How old is he? He was born. Why are they not giving me his age? Because he's just old. He was a freshman in 2016. So say if he's 18 in 2016, what is he, 25?
I think, 24, 25. So that puts him at our age, right? Imagine if we were still playing college sports. That's unreal. Good for him. I'd love to be, but
if he gets drafted, he's a man already.
Yeah, no, I know. It's crazy. And it's on the other side, you have kids that are 19 in the NFL, 20, and it's just crazy how there can be that big of a discrepancy. It reminds me of when Brandon Weeden was at OK State, and he entered the NFL. He was 28 or 29, and just crazy how that stuff happens.
Yeah, they were talking about it this year with Stetson Bennett. He's the same age as Lamar, and Lamar won the Heisman 4 years ago, and he's already he's trying to get his next contract extension. So it's definitely insane. But are there any other games this week for you that stand out that you didn't have on your card?
I don't know. Let me just pull this up real quick just to see what we got on the slate here. So, so one that stands out is UCF and Duke in the Military Bowl. That should be a really good game. Two good programs. Duke did well in the ACC this year. UCF had a good year, so that should be a good matchup. Then you got Kansas and Arkansas. Which is another good matchup. A lot of good games for next Wednesday night. So you have those two games we just mentioned, and then you have Texas Tech against Ole Miss, which could be a good game, and then Syracuse and Minnesota. So those are all good games between next Wednesday and Thursday that could go really either way. So definitely a good slate of games. I think they did a good job this year with the matchups in the bowl games, made it competitive, which is what, every college football fan wants to see ultimately.
Yeah, and the first three that you mentioned, I just stayed clear away because 3 points, I don't it could I could see any of those 6 teams winning by a touchdown.
Right.
And it could be the opposite of what I pick.
Right, and it could go either way. So it's too tough to pick those ones, but
yeah,
definitely all good games.
Minnesota is a 10-point favorite over Syracuse.
That's surprising because Syracuse had a really good year,
Yeah, Florida State 9.5 over Oklahoma.
Wow.
Texas is -4 against Washington on Thursday.
Yeah, those are some surprises right there.
Yeah. And then we got Maryland -1 over NC State. UCLA -3.5 against Pitt. And then, then we're starting to get into some, the big games like Tennessee, Clemson, Alabama, Kansas State, Iowa, Kentucky, and then, of course, college, the playoffs.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, look, between now and the college football playoffs on New Year's Eve, and then once you get into the New Year's Six, I mean, there's plenty of good games that are, during the holidays, if, you're around and, you just have some time with the family and you want to put on a game, there's definitely plenty of options for you to watch some good college football. So, it's been a great year. There's been a lot of big surprises, especially like Alabama not making the playoffs. Who would have thought that, right? Tennessee ended up having a great year. There was definitely a lot of, surprises throughout the year this year. And it's been a good year for college football, I think, to have, some different teams in it. And it's going to be exciting down the stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, especially heading into, is it expanded next year or the following?
I think the year after next year. They're going to start 2024.
So again, like, the last year in this format, obviously next season, but a lot of big storylines, a lot of big players. I mean, by the time we have the show next, and Archie Manning is going to be running it up in Texas. So
I know.
Craziness. Is Texas going to actually be back this time around? Who knows?
And yeah, that's going to be interesting. That QB room is going to have him and Quinn Ewers. So that's going to be fun to watch and see how that pans out and who ultimately wins that job. I mean, I imagine they're going to.
It's got to be Matt. Yeah.
Just because of the name, and he's been tearing it up since he's been 12 years old. So it's going to be fun. We definitely have some good stuff to look forward to next year as well.
Yeah, so big storylines for this next season, big storylines for the rest of the bowl season. So we'll be back, hopefully full crew, sometime next week to drop our New Year's Six and remainder of the bowl game predictions, do a little recap on, the bowl season as a whole, favorite games, bad beats, and so on. But until next time, we hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and we will catch you next week.
Yeah, enjoy the holiday, everyone.